a senior staff architect here at VMware, focused purely on public cloud, as well as cloud native. So I spend most of my day in AWS. A little bit of background about my team. We've been at this, Dan and I, we've been doing this since early 2017. But we really began the journey with VMware, who is a traditional on-premises customer or provider, right? That's what we've always done. Our primary objective is to take public cloud workloads, cloud native, workloads and cloud native assets, and really transition where people, yourselves, see VMware in this space. Obviously, we're a development shop. We're a software company. We've been developing software for really too long. And we actually do things, traditionally we're a very waterfall methodology. With the notion of public cloud, DevOps, cloud native principles, we at VMware, obviously we had to transition with this as well. And so our group is purely focused on really what I would call the newer or bleeding edge types of technology. So if in this case, what I wanted to do today during this specific session was talk about cloud ops. And you might pause for a second. I'm not actually talking about VMware on-premises operations. I'm just not going to happen today. So sorry to disappoint. I'm actually going to talk about what we're doing in the native public cloud, as well as I will talk about how we're doing some of the things around operations within the Kubernetes space with some of the things we've built. So the first thing, I really have 3 slides, and then I'm going to do all demos. So hopefully you appreciate that. The first thing we'll talk about is really around multi-cloud operations. So what we've seen is, like I said, I've been doing this a couple years now. We begin to gather data. And I guess this was in 2016. About 70% of our customers said that they are going to have workloads in multiple clouds. Right? 2016, 70%. What we mean by multi-cloud, by the way, just to kind of set a definition, is utilization of any public cloud. Amazon, I can't say the other two because I'm not supposed to. They're on the screen. But we do absolutely fully support and treat all workloads as first-class citizens. There is no VMware actual data center up here. It's a given. We are going to support the VMware data center, right? But in our case, we wanted to build SaaS solutions that were easy to use, simplified, and in some cases we have built them. In other cases we have bought them, and we'll talk about that. So what are we doing in the operations space? At the end of the day, we have some customers who have come from the on-premises world and want to deliver services into the public cloud, utilizing their existing tooling, existing software. Typically, it's our vRealize stack on the private cloud side. But then we have another paradigm where organizations started in the public cloud, and either A, they have 0 on-premises, no VMware on-prem, or they have moved to it, or they're using multiple clouds, right? So in our case, we wanted to treat all workloads as first-class citizens. So for us, for my team, for Dan and I, when we specifically started this, I would go into a customer and introduce myself as, I'm Sean with VMware, and I don't touch vSphere. I don't. And that kind of caught a few people off guard, caught the VMware people really off guard. But really the goal here for us is to really articulate the VMware strategy around operations in the public cloud. So what have we done? We actually launched our cloud services about 1.5 years ago now, I guess. And those initial set of services, they were very entry into the market. We knew this. A lot of them were tied with our VMware Cloud on AWS offerings. And then really into this year, we've done a few additional things. We made an announcement to purchase Cloud Health. Is there any Cloud Health customers or anybody seen Cloud Health before, used it? Good, thank you. Yesterday, or Tuesday, I guess, I'm running days in Vegas, right? I had a session on using Cloud Health with Lambda functions, right? Where I'm utilizing Lambda to make changes, based upon some sort of policy, whether it's cost, whether it's a tag that we found in AWS, to then make modifications using Lambda. The other thing that we're doing with Cloud Health is really looking at cost visibility. Cost visibility, security at what I call the policy layer or the configuration layer. I'll show you a little bit about that in just a minute. Then at the same time, when we announced the acquisition or intent to acquire Cloud Health at the time, we also made the announcement of VMware Secure State. VMware Secure State was a pretty small startup that we purchased earlier in the year. And really, Secure State is bringing together configuration data as well as contextual data, depending on the situation and what maybe you want as an organization. And we're actually going to bring that data together to actually do some what I call fun things called connected threats. Meaning, do I have an SSH key that has been applied to a workload, maybe an EC2 instance, that by also that EC2 instance has an IAM policy that maybe has access to an S3 bucket, or really it's the chain of events that maybe it was a configuration issue, maybe it was a human error, because we always make errors. And so I'll tell you a little bit about Secure State. The other thing that we've done, we purchased a company called Wavefront. Wavefront, operations metric solution, really focused on time series metric data, but really bringing it in a streaming fashion. So largest customer, right, Box is a good example. It's really about DevOps though, where our customers are using Wavefront. They're actually instrumenting into their code. They're adding in Wavefront to gather metrics on a specific data point, maybe a very specific API call that they want to track. And the key with Wavefront is we actually do not get rid of the data over time. There's no roll-up of the data, right? So it does absolutely go through history, however long you want to retain that data. And we will collect it and obviously run analytics across it, AI, ML, all the good stuff that you should be doing with the data. And then the other thing that we made an announcement, and I'm not really going to focus too much on it today, is but we announced Cloud Automation Services, which is a set of really multi-cloud governance, security related to maybe not giving certain individuals access to specific EC2 instances and giving them some guardrails, as well as a cataloging type of methodology. And so we really firmly believe that our customers are moving in the multi-cloud space, and we've been partnering with them, obviously, to build these solutions, right? I've been meeting with several Cloud Health customers this week, as well as Wavefront, just discussing what they're doing, where they're going, and really bringing the plethora of services that are available in the public cloud, and providing security and governance and visibility and cost on top of that. I'm going to transition now and actually go to a demo and kind of talk about this entire process and what we've done. And then I'm going to transition, actually talk a little bit about Kubernetes, what we've done in what we call the cloud Kubernetes space, or cloud PKS space, our managed service for Kubernetes. So I'll do that in a little bit as we go into it. So let me jump into a demo quickly. And I think we're good on time. Perfect. So for a little bit of understanding, this is one of our EC2 environments where we have actually built something we call FitCycle. FitCycle is a couple of Python applications, just so everybody believes it's real. There is the 2 web servers that are associated with FitCycle. I can actually come in, I can sign up for my beta, and test, 1, 2, 3. Right, so I just submitted some form data, and because we have, whether it's a marketing group or somebody wants to hit the API, I can actually jump in, and nothing ever happens properly. I've got one there, and then I've got another API instance. Let me just show you. Yeah, so kind of see what we've got. There's a bunch of data that I've got in that particular set. So these are real EC2 applications. We've taken this in one iteration of the application. It is using EC2 with MySQL installed on top of it. And then the other iteration, we actually have, we're using RDS on the back end with multi-AZ from a backup or a data resiliency perspective. And we keep this up and running, right? We've spun these applications up. I've got it in, I think, peak time. We do it in, I think, 8 or 9 AWS regions, as well as some of the other clouds. And then, all of this is being, used in our demonstrations, our tech talks, all that good stuff as well. With that in mind, the first thing I'll show you is cost visibility, right? One of the operational functions that we're being asked from our customers is, I know I'm spending money, how much, and on what? one of our counterparts, he sent me a screenshot of one of the newer EC2 instances that cost about $10,000 to run, specifically in a day. So I automatically took that and said, thankfully we're not running any, because we don't want to, we don't need to. But then I can actually set a policy on top of that that says, no, you can't provision it. And we'll talk about that in a second. So this is a quick overview of the cost. So as you can see from our group's perspective, we build up some of our development to be right around VMworld timeframe, which is in August. So the first 3 months leading up to August, you could see kind of a ramp. And then we've been doing some cleanup since that point in time. But really these applications are kind of ebb and flow. So with that in mind, I can actually see how much I'm spending. So there's Redshift, some of the things that we're doing in a group. EBS, right? I've also been doing some Lambda. So I noticed my Lambda consumption has actually gone up over the past couple of weeks, specifically for some of the things we've done here. But it's really about a quick overview. You notice I'm only looking at AWS data, right? But you can actually go in and look at, obviously, the other public clouds as well as the VMware data center. The key with this is, what we're finding in the public cloud space is there's different lines of businesses, different applications, different groups that are consuming these workloads and these resources. And so we've, within the Cloud Health solution, we've actually built something called Perspectives, which says my applications that have been tagged with my data, I want to know how much I'm spending, maybe compared to Dan or to Prabhu and somebody else on the team. So we automatically have the perspectives, and we can actually filter those perspectives accordingly. So in my case, I've got VMware Cloud Services, and I just want to see what I'm spending, and it'll ultimately set my filter, and then I can see quickly what I'm doing within my data set, or within my EC2 utilization and consumption. So actually I think all of them are mine right now in this data set, so I'll leave that. The other thing that we've done with Cloud Health is really look at, there you go, a little bit internet lag. The other thing that we're doing with Cloud Health is, and VMware, by the way, was a customer of Cloud Health before we actually purchased them. And what we were using Cloud Health for is really RI optimization. So reserved instances, VMware does a pretty good amount of spend in native AWS, by the way. No, I'm not going to show you how much. But we had to begin a process of looking at improving our overall utilization within AWS, right? So I'm only talking about cost, but then we took performance data. So in our particular case, you can actually, if we look at what we have built from a Cloud Health perspective, here are all of the data sources that we support to gather performance information, right? Performance metrics. So obviously we support Ansible, Datadog, New Relic. We now integrate with our own Wavefront solution, Chef, Puppet, all the good ones that are out there. We'll continue to expand this because we believe even within our own organization, I may prefer one solution versus somebody else's another. And so that's really the freedom that we're choosing to offer here. So we take this performance data, and then we can actually come in and show you how to optimize your organization's cost. And in this case, I know in our data set, we actually don't need any RIs at all because we're not doing a ton, but we can actually report on and give you recommendations, and I'll just show you under the recommendations tab of, what is my RI analyzer? Let's look at all of the data that we've been collecting. And right here on the left-hand side, if I want to modify it, do I want to, really getting into your specific AWS usage from an EC2 perspective and helping you lower your bill. I did just say that. The other thing that we've done is how to right-size those instances. Amazon obviously continues to produce additional EC2 instances, different types. Now they've got the ARM types that were released yesterday, right? We want to help you make sure that you're using the right version. Are you using, a specific, version that maybe it's older, you don't want to re-platform, maybe you can't, right? But how can I, based upon actual performance data, right-size that accordingly and save on the overall spend? It's just a few of the things that we've done from a Cloud Health perspective. The other thing that we've done, and this is a little bit of what I talked about yesterday, but I'll show you a little bit here, is we looked at policies. So policies are very important. In this data set, right, we automatically, out of the box, we have things like CAS, Amazon foundational principles, right? We'll go out, we'll look at all of the data. Are you secure? Are you in a configuration state that you need to be in, and then we have some of the best practices as well. What about unallocated EIPs, right? We all know that it's there, but quickly take action if I find them and remove them and I no longer have to pay for it, right? So we absolutely allow that. And the thing that I built yesterday, I was having a little bit of fun with Lambda, is truly looking at doing some fun actions, right? So in my case, I was looking for a specific EC2 tag as well as a tier, which happened to be the database. And then I would run a Lambda function because we like to have a little bit of fun. And I can automatically insert some data into the database or truncate the database. And I was just having a little bit of kind of a back and forth, just a few minor examples. But really the goal here is you can set the policy based upon what is necessary for your environment, and this just gives you a few of the options. You can actually create authorizers if you want to, as another example, maybe you want to delete an EC2 instance. You can do that. That's supported out of the box, right? You can send it to PagerDuty or some other Slack is a good example. At the end of the day, we want to provide you options based upon how you want to consume that data. So it's not really just about cost. It's about cost optimization, configuration optimization, security optimization, or governance. And in some cases, maybe just don't let people be bad or spend unnecessary amounts of money. So I've shown you what our environment looked like from a cost perspective. Let me shift now, and I'll show you a little bit about what we've done from the security space within Secure State. So just so everybody's aware, Secure State and Cloud Health, obviously, we're bringing these together. So that's why there's two UIs. But what we've done with Secure State is really look at known violations, vulnerabilities, and objects. You can tell in our environment we are not the most secure. It's on purpose, by the way. And we create things here and there. We obviously provide you different breakdowns based upon the type of service as well as regions. There's another notion of teams I really won't get into today. But our goal here is quick actionable information, right? So I've got 129 rules. What does it look like? I've got an EC2 group that is not being used. Hey, it's not overly severe in the grand scheme of things, but why is it out there? Can I delete it? Permissions are very important if somebody makes a mistake, right? Do I have a snapshot that are not encrypted? Simple things that we just forget about. When I was doing some testing with RDS, I deleted multiple times with Terraform, an RDS instance, and in one iteration of my infrastructure as code, I lost the encrypted flag. I don't know what happened, but ultimately we quickly understood it. We can delete it. We're not doing anything customer sensitive, right? So it doesn't matter. The other thing is logging on S3. Just simple configuration options and simple things that we forget, right? TCP port open on port 22. So one of the things that we've also done, and this is kind of an interesting use case, is we take those configuration items and then we've built what we call connected threats. So in this example, I'm going to look here at one that we found. I've got two instances that, according to the violation, just let me read it, is publicly routable instances that are sharing SSH keys with administrative access, or with administrative instances. So if I look at this case here, it happens to be mine. I have, and I'll just build it out so it's easier for everybody to see. I've got shared keys, or a key pair, that is attributed to a particular object. There we go. All right, it's a little bit bigger. So I've got a key pair right here that is actually associated with two EC2 instances. The key is, though, that particular shared key is also attributed to a IAM policy that if something was to happen to that key, it gets exposed. Not only can I get on those instances, but I can actually get to other Amazon services, maybe S3, maybe Redshift. You name the service of choice. The goal here for us is truly just to help you understand that this object, if the key pair gets out, somebody gains access to a particular EC2 instance, they might be able to, based upon IAM policies, to then be malicious and gain additional access to your data rather than just that specific EC2 instance. So this is one of the quick examples that we've done. From a Secure State perspective, obviously we support integrations with the core clouds as well as Slack. In this case, I've only got Amazon in my data set. And you can get very creative. We can also do some actions based on policies and make changes or API calls depending on what you want to do. Then the other thing that we've done is within Wavefront. So I know I'm doing this rather quickly. It's a 30-minute talk, right? So bear with me. We can go into depth if you want to. This is an out-of-the-box dashboard that we built for our applications. We've got our web front end communication that's occurring with this web app. And obviously we see how quickly, how often. And then we also see just general usage of the particular nodes in this particular app. Here's my RDS metrics, right? These are coming directly from Amazon from a CloudWatch perspective. And so if there was a potential issue, it might be quick and visible to articulate. And then we've also got a number of connections, as well as if there is any application request or pull times, right? Our API Flask server. If one of the groups wanted to go grab the data and mine the data, they could absolutely do this in this fashion. Really, our goal here for just quickly articulating and highlighting the individual components within our stack to help you operationalize your applications on public cloud, as well as obviously cloud native. So with that in mind, I did get a little bit of a late start here, but I'm going to show you one more thing within the VMware family that actually Art was talking about a little while ago. So within cloud services, we got something called VMware Cloud PKS, and Cloud PKS is really a fully managed Kubernetes as a service. It's running natively in Amazon. There is no VMware required. I know that sounds weird. There's no VMware required. We're actually going to spin up clusters, and then obviously from there, you can, really within 4 commands, by the way, I can create a cluster and I can be provisioning an application within Kubernetes, whether it's with Helm or YAML, whatever you've got, your particular use case. But I just wanted to show you how easy it was to create the smart cluster, and then I'll be done. I've got development. I could choose my region. I'll just pick Ireland maybe, and maybe I want to give privilege mode, and then I can create it. And now I'm creating a smart cluster. Just 4 clicks. By the way, I do it from a CLI too. Like I said, it's 4 clicks. Then you can just jump into, you can auth to kubectl, and then you can be away. Right. So that's kind of some of the other things we've done. There's some operational pieces. My peer will be talking about that as well later today, or I think it's tomorrow. But this is kind of a high-level overview within 30 minutes of what VMware is doing in the cloud operations space. So with that in mind, I'll actually won't take questions because I went over. But if you have any questions for me, I'll be over here on the left-hand side. You can follow me on Twitter, @Sean Odell. But other than that, thanks for stopping by, and appreciate everybody today. Thank you.